Okay, I think we can start. It's 1:05 p.m. Central European Time. So good afternoon to everybody who are in our time zone, who is in our time zone. Good morning to everybody in US and some other parts of the world, and good evening to Asia, basically speaking, or good night to New Zealand, I would say. And welcome everybody. It is a pleasure to see you all at the first session of our last slot for our 56th ISOCARP World Planning Congress. Let me introduce Professor Holtmaki Dimisha, who is the co-general rapporteur, and let me welcome you to the plenary session, which is the future of the planning knowledge. And now let me ask Hope to present the program for the day and invite the first speaker. Hope, you with us? Okay, disappeared.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and welcome to the 56th ISOCARP Congress. Talking to you from South Africa, Durban. And I think what I would like to start by doing is just to present to you the program of today, which is straightforward, short and straightforward. We will obviously start with the opening remarks, which Pietro has already touched on that. Then our next item will be the roundtable, which will be the future of event planning. Oh, my screen is a bit covered here. Yeah, the next item will be the future of planning debate, and this will be a roundtable which will be led by the previous rapporteur, General Rapporteur of ISOCARP Planning Congress, and I believe that's Mr. Slawomir. Then the next item will be the future of planning hours, roundtable, which will be led by, I believe that's Martina and Anna. And of course, the final session will be our concluding remarks and the summary. Over to you, Pietro. On that note, I will then request the president of the ISOCARP, Mr. Martin Dubbeling, to take the floor and give us opening remarks.
Martin, you are muted. Martin, you are muted.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to you all. We are here at the 9th day of our 11-day Congress. We have 4 legs, started in November, second leg in December, January the 3rd, and now we are in February, and these are the last 3 days, the last 3 days of our Congress. So far, it has been a remarkable Congress, and I would like to congratulate staff, the Congress team, Frank, the Secretary General, the board. But what I missed most is the personal contact with you all, and what I very much miss, the Congress badges. Here the Congress badges of previous years, as you can see. And it started here. This is Porto. I have Bodo in Norway over here, South Africa. So these were some also peace tags. This is Wuhan. I have also Dalian somewhere buried over here. This is what I very much miss. And I hope that for some reason we can reconcile with that, and maybe there's a compensation that maybe afterwards the staff will be able to send us the Congress badge of this Congress, and this is what I'm missing most. And next to the personal meetings we all have, and the tours and the excursions and the dinners and the lunches and the drinks and whatever. But without further ado, I suggest we get on with this meeting and talk about the future of planning debate and also the future of our congresses. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Martin. I have to say we are not missing maybe badges, but we are definitely missing our meetings. And as I can maybe tell you, before actually Judith says that we are all missing, you know, our meetings and making friends, meeting old friends and making new friends. So thank you very much, Martin, for that. And also what is very important is that today is the first day of the last 3-day session of our 56th World Planning Congress, and I would like to especially welcome each and every one of you to the last session, which is on the 4th of February, which is the closing ceremony. And please don't forget about that. So now let me invite Hope to introduce the first session of the day today.
Thank you very much, Pietro. I think we can now go into our next item, and will be our roundtable entitled Future of Planning Debate. And this will be led by Mr. Ledwon, sorry. I'm sorry about that. And he was the former board member for ISOCARP. And I remember working with him. I don't know whether they remember it with ISOCARP in South Africa 2016. Over to you, Slawomir.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening. I'm really pleased to be talking to you today and to be moderating this this session, which will be, as introduced, the interactive roundtable with the general rapporteurs of our previous congresses. So I will very shortly introduce the idea, also talk about the congresses themselves, and then give the floor to our speakers. So we would be talking about the future of planning debate, and ISOCARP has a long tradition, 56 congresses organized, starting from very small events, leading into bigger ones. And you can see the last recent congresses in the screen, and we have also the general rapporteurs with us that worked on the content of those congresses from this last 6 years. And also we of course have Piotr Lawrence, who is the general rapporteur of the current Congress. So those speakers will introduce themselves. We have Amos Brandeis for Gdynia, Urban Transformation, Cities and Water. We have Judith Ryser. She coordinated the Netherlands Congress, Cities Save the World, Let's Reinvent Planning. Guy Perry, working on Durban cities we have versus cities we need. Hongyang Wang, Smart Communities in Portland 2017. Dushko Bogunovich, Co-Planning, Changing Climate and Our Urban Future. Bodo, Norway, and then Martina, she worked on Beyond the Metropolis in Jakarta in 2019. And we want to think about where the future of congresses, where the future of planning debate is going to. And of course, there are many components and many objectives of every single event that is organized. I won't be going through them in detail. I'm just wishing to mention them, because it's so hard to coordinate and actually to please all of them at the same time, and especially in the times that we are experiencing now, which needs some new approaches. ISOCARP Congress grew over those last few years, so we significantly increased our attendance from around 250 delegates on average to over 700 in Jakarta in 2019. That also asks the question, what is the scale? What is the appropriate scale? Should it be growing? Should it be kept smaller, or should it remain at this size? And Congress is about the debate. It can be in various settings, in various approaches. It's also about the experience. We have few images from a technical tour in the Netherlands and another workshop that was held in Durban, where the lunch was in the urban setting. So it's not only about discussing in the room, it's also going out to the city, experiencing the city and discussing what we actually are seeing and what we are planning for. It's about the splendor, it's about meeting, it's about celebrating. Here we have also awards. On the right-hand side, you have awards from Gdynia 2014, which will be the part of the latter part of the session. But it's also about the people, and especially for ISOCARP, I believe that youth is very important. All of us started as young planners at some point, whether we joined ISOCARP or not, we all are beginning our paths in there. So it's very, very important to share this knowledge, not only among peers, but also with the youth. And actually ISOCARP has a long-standing program of young professional planners, which is held before the Congress. So I just want to pitch a few questions to our respected colleagues to talk about. So what kind of type of debate are we going into? Is it more research or practice oriented, or where should it go? What is the model? And probably this is everyone asking in the room right now. Is it going to be in person? Is it going to be hybrid or totally virtual like we have at the moment? What are the content themes and types of the sessions and types of interactions that we are promoting? And which audience are we actually talking to? So can we open up or should we do so? What is the accessibility? What is the feasibility? Because you also have to think that, you know, the Congress is has to be run, has to be financed. And what is the role of ISOCARP? And actually, this is an interesting, can ISOCARP become a leader in the planning debate internationally? And what would be the new normal in the times to come? So the structure of the panel would be short introductory statements from each of the former general rapporteurs. Then we have an introductive discussion. So I encourage you to post questions, ideally in the chat box. There can be also another discussion in the chat box that usually happens in those sessions. And at the very end, the general rapporteur of the current and future Congress, Piotr Lorenz, will give us a summary of the discussions. So without further ado, I would like to invite Amos to open the introductory statement from general rapporteurs. Thank you.
Hi, good to see so many people. Well, it's strange. We have a roundtable discussion with a square screen. So this is really a change, a new world. The theme of our conference in 2014 was urban transformations, cities and water. A topic which is definitely relevant to all planners in all regions. It's crucial both and blessed in areas which are blessed with sustainable water resources, and of course also in areas which suffer from severe water shortage or floods. And actually many of the urban planning issues around the world are somehow related to water issues, if you think about it. Well, like in other conferences, we blended across different topics and demonstrated how comprehensive, complex, and fascinating planning is as a bridge between theory and practice. But if you ask what was really different in our Congress, I would say it was like a 5 days long party, like no other I attended before or after. We had a huge diversity in our program, which I think is also very important for this discussion. We had actually almost 24/7 things were happening. We had a real attractive puzzle of formal and informal events and sessions, including tours, social events, workshops, educational forums, keynotes, parallel sessions, awards, special sessions. And we met people, we met politicians, we met the media, and we also had a waterfront marathon, which was actually a presentation of 7 plans, which was like a kind of a competition, 3 minutes each. We had a winner for the best project and a winner for the best presentation. And we also had a lot of beer in this conference. As Martin said before, the personal contact was so important. And like after 5 days of a long party and celebration, we all went home exhausted. And well, it was the 50th ISOCARP celebration. And Piotr and Slavek, the same guys who are here, were the hosts. So this explains actually everything. So please, let's go to the next general rapporteur, and we'll talk afterwards more about the content and diversity.
Thank you, Amos, so much. Yes, indeed, this is where we started. Now, Judith, then we traveled to the Netherlands, and actually it wasn't only the Netherlands and only the Rotterdam. Can you tell us more about that, please?
2015 Congress was special because it was the 50th anniversary Congress, and it returned to the Netherlands where ISOCARP started. And it had two themes. One was Let's Reinvent Planning, and the other one was Cities Save the World. Let's Reinvent Planning was about planning being just one cogwheel in a complex machine, which is always changing. And that means that planning has to change as well, and preferably proactively rather than reactively as in the past. The cities were chosen because that is where the action is. They are dynamic. And we were running 12 workshops in parallel, actually organized and managed by the cities and the young planners. So it was a very horizontal, extremely participatory, extremely interactive event. And that was in the Netherlands and some cities in Belgium and Germany. And the themes were very much avant-garde. So basically the lessons from the Congress are threefold. One is participation is absolutely essential, and I mean genuine participation, that people get an ownership of what they are working about. The second is cooperation, and that also means genuine horizontal, not top-down. And the third one is avant-garde. The workshops the themes of the workshops were totally cutting edge. And basically, the report I wrote for the 50th anniversary was where I did a synthesis of the 50 congresses, shows very clearly that ISOCARP was very much in the avant-garde during all those 5 decades. And I personally hope and feel that it will stay there and that way. It's quite a unique global organization. There is no other. So I think the field is open for us. Now, the message for the future of planning is participatory, cooperative, cutting edge. The role of ISOCARP, as we saw it, is knowledge creation and sharing and forging friendships across cultures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judith. Guy, can you tell us more about Durban 2016?
Of course, with pleasure. It was a fascinating Congress. We had a huge international turnout in terms of the proportion of attendees. The theme, as we mentioned before, cities we have versus cities we need. And then, of course, it was broken into sub-themes, which I would say are all extraordinarily relevant today. And maybe had the world grappled with those themes more effectively, we wouldn't have as many challenges as we do today and in certain parts of the world. I'm just going to touch on some of those themes. Of course, transforming human settlement was a very important one. One of the very, very interesting aspects of this Congress was how much interaction there was with the place and the people. So it was a very much an engaged Congress. I certainly learned a lot personally. I know that everyone who came in from abroad learned a great deal. And I think that the locals also very much appreciated what we were able to share with them. Planning, activism, and social justice. I can still imagine, the scenes in Minneapolis, et cetera, how much we can learn from the best practice there that some of the most advanced countries in the world still don't have a handle on. Planning theory and practice for the next decades, obviously looking to the long term. Planning and policy during times of uncertainty, sounds like today. Intelligent cities for people. Very important that we said intelligent cities versus smart cities in my mind, because I'm now a vice president at McKinsey. We are no longer talking about smart cities. We're actually as worried about the negative implications of smart, having too much data and where it goes, as using kind of good common sense and making sure we're wise about how we use technology and not that we just use technology ad infinitum. And then finally, planning for an interlinked and integrated rural-urban development. Again, very interesting during these times of COVID, as people are, in many cases, fleeing the city and redefining the city and how we're anticipating living it. I would just say a few of the key elements is, again, throughout, the congresses are about the interaction with people. I think it's also about the interaction with the place that we're actually visiting and the people of that place. So it's very hard to distinguish our field from those elements. We are doing this for places that shape people's lives. And then I believe that, I'm working with so many clients who are lost in terms of what we term as KPIs, key performance indicators. They don't know what to look for. They don't know how to gauge how they shape their cities in the future. And I think that ISOCARP can be very much a part of, shall we say, the arbitration of that, because we have a relative point of view which is quite unique. And that relativism is critical to understanding how to best approach solutions in various parts of the world. So I'll stop there, and I look forward to our further discussions.
Thank you very much, Guy. That was indeed a very interesting Congress. And the year later, we traveled to North America, actually to Portland, Oregon, and this was just to mention one of the first Congress that was partnered with another organization. So we had it together with American Planning Association, the chapter of Oregon. So Hongyang, could you tell us more, please?
Okay, all right. I'm not going to, record too many details of the Portland Congress. I would like to focus on the future of planning debate, especially the themes for future planning debate. The 2017 Congress on Smart Communities was held in Portland, United States, in cooperation with American Planning Association, Oregon chapter. And most of the time of the past sad year 2020, I was also in US as a Fulbright visiting researcher. I think today we think about the future of planning debate. We should bear in mind that the history of human civilization may truly be divided as the pre-2020 and post-2020, but only if we properly learn the lessons of 2020 and before. So I think for the theme, I think in planning, what is the past lessons of planning debate until 2020? I think we are becoming more and more fancying debate and questioning, more and more fancying new topics, new technology, new methods, new cases, etc. This means there is less and less defense and insistence for consensus, less and less constant pursuit for truthful answers to complex questions and old questions sometimes, and less perseverant efforts to create synergy and harmony. This is producing a ever expanding yet split and divided body of knowledge and hence world. It's a part of the tendency of postmodernization, but 2020 told us when human society is more and more like divided parts rather than a harmonized whole, how fragile it is when consolidation is demanded. Therefore, what should the future of planning debate be? I think city is to join people and everything together, and planning is to make that joining organic, synergetic, and harmonized. All investigations, discussions, and developments should serve this common destination. This should be the first principle for planning. How to build an organic, harmonized whole out of infinite everything and complexity. The complexity that everything related, interconnected, and controversial sometimes is the oldest but most fundamental and challenging question for planning thinking and practice. So my point is the future of debate in planning should see at least some return to its basic and permanent agenda after post-modernization drift. How to build an organic whole out of infinite everything and complexity is a basic and a deep topic of planning philosophy and methodology. Development in this direction will determine how planning can make our unique contribution to heal the world. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hongyang. As you see, the diversity of topics already is big, and the experiences. I hope in the roundtable you can share how these experiences would influence what's going to happen with the congresses and the planning debate in the future. Now, Dushko, could you tell us more about cool planning?
With pleasure, Slavik. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be a part of this very important debate. And since I'm in New Zealand and it's already the 3rd of February, I can speak with authority from the future. just a few hours ahead of you, but still, it is the future. The theme of the 54th Congress was cool planning, an obvious reference to our warming planet. This was the first time that the society went beyond the Arctic Circle to hold a Congress. The choice of a small provincial coastal city in the far north of Norway was symbolic. In this manner, ISOCARP reaffirmed its commitment to combating global climate crisis. The 54th Congress concluded that we are in a global emergency and that every city and town on the planet, no matter how small or remote, will be affected, must prepare for the difficult times ahead, and matters in the global struggle to reduce the global urban footprint. I'll now move on to my perspective on the future of the planning debate. We live in interesting times. Not only did COVID in 2020 shake the very foundations of what is normal life, but the year has just been declared the hottest on record. Scientists now agree that this third decade of the 21st century will decide whether the human species survives or perishes on planet Earth. The world is clearly in an emergency, not so much because of COVID as because of climate. I see the pandemic as a distraction from a far bigger calamity, but also a welcome and timely instruction in how to prevent that calamity. The unprecedented mobilization of the governments and the media to combat the pandemic has demonstrated what can be done in short time when there is political will to listen to the science and political will to act with urgency on the advice from that science. While the debate about what is a bigger menace, COVID or climate, may continue for some time, we planners should stick to our knitting and re-examine the process and subject of planning. Let me comment on the process first. I see it as too bureaucratic, technocratic, and business-friendly, while most citizens are alienated from it. In future, we need more transparency, more citizen engagement, and more local empowerment. We must promote and secure a democratic consensus in the 2020s about two matters. One, that climate resilience and mitigation are the paramount objectives of spatial planning. And two, that ecological land use planning is the standard practice in our work, overruling legal boundaries and administrative regimes. Let me now comment on the contents of planning. Let us wake up to the new reality that the subject of our work is no more the city. It is now the urban region or the city region. We must plan for the entire territory around the city or a town. The pandemic has slowed down, if not regressed, globalization, and relocalization is now the new trend. In fact, COVID has only accelerated what was a powerful centrifugal trend for a few decades now: deconcentration of population and decentralization of infrastructure. Both are in principle good, and we should embrace them as salvation in the face of the climate mayhem. To conclude, the new meta-objectives of good planning, if we are to counter both pandemics and environmental meltdowns, are decentralized city regions with a high level of self-reliance on local sources of energy, food, water, and material, and on local waste sinks. In this great decentralization scenario, as I like to call it, local, specific traditional knowledge and values will emerge as more relevant and practical than the global, universal, and generic prescriptions. Let hundreds of urbanism flourish on this urban planet in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dushko, and thank you also for mentioning that the problems you talk about are not only urban. And I think this is a bit what we wanted to do in Jakarta, to talk about beyond the metropolis, not even the city, the metropolis, but going beyond. So Martina, could you share a few thoughts, please?
Yes, I'll start by saying that I feel very fortunate that I was the General Rapporteur of the Congress in Jakarta. 700 people were there from all parts of the world. It was also a very young Congress with loads of young in any sense, you know, loads of young participation, but also young, dynamic, busy ideas, but also we had a lot of mixing. We were mixing around the buffets in between sessions and running from one session to another. We had 8 parallel sessions going on all at the same time, plus a series of workshops running on the side. So we had that, and then we were cramming into tuk-tuks, taxis, and going visiting places and dancing in the streets with strangers. All things that were feeling like a huge privilege then, the mixing of us in the place, and the young and experienced people and all corners of the world mixing together. It was fantastic. And of course, it was a privilege then, is even more, it feels now this year, an amazing experience to have had. And I'm really sorry for Piotr that missed it this year, and Ali that is on the call that missed it this year. In terms of the message, the theme was that of beyond the mega city. So was not just looking at the mega city sort of in terms of global ranking, being in the top 20 in the world or top 40, and the GDPs and the big infrastructure needs or infrastructure investments or the big risks, was all of that. But there was also another side that was that of the fairness of the city and the hinterland, the role of the secondary cities, but also the necessity, the larger the city, the stronger the local identity and the sense of belonging of individuals. That was a very important stream that played out in heritage, but also culture, and then another stream on that I found fascinating on the role of children, not only just the safety of children themselves, but protecting them. It was giving children agency and independence in a global world or in a large city, and the more that interplay between the mega and the local and how they came together. So I thought that that was sort of fascinating, full of really important messages, full of excitement. Everybody said, their Congress was the most exciting one, and I have to say the same thing. That shows how these Congresses were amazing in any by all means, and we are all competing, the best beer towards the best dancing on the street and the best running along the waterfront. We all have amazing things to tell. I really think going into the future, what I would like to have the opportunity to discuss more are two things. Well, the role of ISOCARP into being at the forefront. Judith mentioned that earlier on, but we are a free-spirited societies. All of these accounts tell us that. So we have the opportunity to keep push the boundaries and keep the innovation, but also keep that link between the international and global research and thinking and the understanding of the local situation. So this is one theme, that of the cutting edge. And then the other theme that I would like to push is that of fairness. We are in times of great change, climate change, pandemic, changing technology, changing society. Fairness needs to be a key theme for the future. So that's from me.
Thank you, Martina, for sharing the thoughts. And I must say to all the general rapporteurs, it was really a pleasure to work with you on those events. It was quite a journey. And we always tried to do something a bit different, something a bit better, and then experiment. Maybe sometimes it didn't work the way we intended to, but we learned from it. So it's an amazing ongoing process of learning and also developing this core ISOCARP activity, which is the World Planning Congress. So my sincere thanks from myself, and also I believe delegates and members for your contributions to those. And as you rightfully mentioned, we have to move on. We have to go forward. It's so many topics raised here, and I think because not everyone also participated from the people who are in the room now. The strength of ISOCARP it's actually the membership, and that we are not academia, we are not only professionals. It's a blend, it's a mixture of people who do both. So I think this exchange of knowledge is really important. So I'll start off the discussion in the roundtable. I think the point is not round, it's pretty rectangular. So let's do the rectangular table. And of course, feel free to interact and ask questions. Also from the audience, we have the chat box. I'm sure the general rapporteurs would love to answer them. And having already Martina conclude her part, I think what we pushed for quite a lot in Jakarta Congress is really the practice, involvement of practice in the Congress, which we felt there really needed a greater spotlight. So what are your thoughts on that, and how can we make it?
I would like to see a bigger role for private practice consultancies or experts, private experts. I really think that, or I like to think that we are like the bees, the academic research might be like the flowers, everything, special and beautiful and unique. The government planning may be like the crops, and we are the bees. Because I'm of course a private consultant, we are the bees that, pick up what is special and then also bring it to different places. And I really think that if we want to translate the flowers, the big research, the big ideas into practice, we really need a better recognition for the humble bees that go around the world and spread and sort of bring different ideas to different places from their own experience. But also give the bees access to the flowers and give the bees access, having that of bringing everything together, creating this ecosystem, I think it's very important. And I'm sure ISOCARP should have a bigger role in doing that, in bringing that together. I think is essential. If we do not do that, we will not see how the research translates into reality, how it changes really people's lives. So that's my view, but I'm really looking forward to hear, for example, Dushko and Guy, what do you think about that?
I think that the main value of our congresses is actually this interchange between the research and research in a wider sense, speculation and provocation, alternative ideas, experiments, and so on, and practice, the reality of people who work in consultancies and who work for the local government. For me, having been at probably about a dozen congresses and having been a member for more than 30 years, I think the greatest value is this interface between ideas and practice, and between speculation, future, and the reality. Because planning lives in this space in between the two. Planners are, on one hand, as the word says, we plan the future. So it's all an abstraction and a speculation. It's a guessing. We're making the best guesses. At the same time, we are deeply involved in the local government, in the real life. We decide about the real lives of real people on a daily basis with our decisions. So kind of the nature of these congresses really hits at the very essence of what we do.
I'd like to support that, because in my professional life, I had one foot in one camp and one in the other. And of course, there are tensions between them as well. One has to accept that. But I think it's very important to create a dialogue and to create also an understanding of each other's preoccupations, language, and the rest of it. And I think ISOCARP is the ideal place, forum and platform to precisely give for that. I would like just to come back on a small point of Dushko when he said it's no longer about cities, it's about city regions. Well, I personally don't think it's either or. I think it's precisely of having the opportunity of planning at all those levels. I mean, global down to neighborhood, to individual quarters and so on, and to much better link, create the connections vertically as well as horizontally. I think this networking and also negotiation with each other, because the interests change from one level to the other, from one place to another, and so forth. So the planner somehow has a role in all this, and I think that is something we should continue to keep on board. the way we can participate as just one cog wheel in the machine. We have to be careful to think that we are not omniscient and omnipresent and so on. We are just one, but we can have an instrumental role there, I think.
I'd like to actually draw a little bit of an analogy in terms of where ISOCARP and the planning profession is today to where designers, architects, developers were maybe a decade or two ago when we started to have LEED and BREEAM standards, etc. It used to be that the first thing a developer would think when you had to have those standards is, oh no, I'm going to have to spend more money. This is not something I'm interested in. Well, today, there's not a serious investor on the planet that is not concerned with their, if you will, ecological footprint and whether or not their building will be certified. So I think what I've seen, and I'm working with a number of governments, not just city governments, but national governments, they're now taking the issue of proper planning very seriously. And I have to say, in many ways, much more seriously when it comes to how we deal with the environment and how we deal with the outcome for people than I've seen it in decades past. So I think that is reassuring because they are worried about how they're investing in their future. They're really asking the question now, is this the right thing? And it's not just a short-term monetization, which is what I think we saw for many decades. And I'm not saying that's not still going on, it is. But I think you have more and more leaders that are concerned with a more strategic future for their cities and their regions. And I believe ISOCARP is uniquely positioned to assist in that process.
I think Hongyang wanted to say something. Yes, please.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's something exactly go back to what I was just proposing. That is, well, today we think that planning obviously relating to everything, that economical, social, ecological, and a temporal, spatial, and the different people have different desires and different opinions. So normally now we consider that as a procedural justice, we can make it right. But actually it's also a scientific question. That is something I say that's the oldest basic question for planning. So we have to go back to that. We have to, challenge the old idea that if planning is everything, it is nothing. But planning is relating to everything. So then how to deal with that? That's the key question.
Yeah,
I think, yes, Amos?
Yes, I would also like to refer to this. This point, governments are important, and I think one of our advantages as ISOCARP is the practice-oriented of us as professionals from all over the world, but we should not forget the people. And the people, they are actually our real clients. And I think the recent pandemic emphasized on how important urban planning actually is to everyone on the globe. There are so many planning issues that become vital and major part of the public debate, not only of us as planners, like mixed uses and connectivity and public spaces and how our own homes are designed and urban life versus life in the suburbs. We always talked about how good it is to be in the city, and now people want to go back to the suburbs. And many more other issues that I think will remain with us much after this pandemic is over. So I think we as planners in general and ISOCARP in particular have a major role in this planning debate. We don't only plan, we have to talk about it. And I think we have to lead, moderate, and share the world of planning and the world of the debate on planning. And we need a fruitful and diverse debate because we plan for people. They are actually our clients. So let's talk with them, not only to them, but also with them. And this is why I think we should try in ISOCARP to open our activities and events, at least part of them, also to the public. Because I think this is our public role to share knowledge, thoughts, and ideas, not only among us, but also with people, listen to them. And now I think with the hybrid conferences and with the Zoom and with everything, it is much more accessible and much easier than it was before. So I would say this is one of our challenges for the planning debate of ISOCARP in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Amos, for mentioning the point. I think it's very important because from opening from research to practice, this is only one small step. It's great that you mentioned public. Actually, we had an experiment in Bodo in Norway that one of the rooms, we just ran out of track rooms, and then apparently this one was open to the public. So that was another unintended experiment, but it seemed that people, just passers-by in the library, they could see someone's talking about something. And we had this young planners workshop results, which actually were interesting for them. So they would stop by and start listening to it. So now this is I think a huge topic, how not only can we spread among us or people in the profession, but actually approach those in the public, and what would be the means for it? Because in Bodo it was just a spontaneous encounter, right? So maybe I don't know if any of you has any experiences you would like to share for this. What is the path forward now for having any more
anecdote from our Congress. When people joined in the plenary in Rotterdam from the city workshops to report back, so we had some market stalls, and they were there exhibiting their findings, and in fact that was combined with a mayor summit. So nobody was sitting, everybody was walking around, everything was interactive, and there was a side room which was completely open, so we had no enclosed dark room, and which was completely open. There was an endless tea and coffee, so people wanted to have private chats, they could be there, but were still part of the whole thing. So that was very interesting. And so people came up to me, some, and said, Judith, as General Rapporteur, we didn't know that you want to make us work. And I said, terribly sorry, but how was it? He said, well, we actually enjoyed it, to have hands-on participation, to be part of it. So people want to have ownership of this. So they travel across the world, not just to sit in a dark room to consume information. They want to be interactive. And I think that was the main asset which this Congress has actually managed to provide the setting for it. So everything was interactive and across the generations, across the cultures, across disciplines and so on. And that was very creative. And I hope that this will continue, for example, that we reinstate the members page on the website so that we can have this continuous, very informal, very open exchange of information, knowledge, and so forth among ourselves. I think that is also quite important. And then any event which we are doing, even locally and so on, that we feed back, that we contribute to the general body of knowledge. And that should be done under the Creative Commons copyright, so that people can use it. We're not an island, we are part of the world. And as Dushko and Hongyang put it in, we have to make a contribution, but also giving, not just taking from that. I agree. I love the bee and flower analogy from Martina. I very much subscribe to it. I think this is a great, great, great image of where we're at. Thank you.
I would like to add something. I think that this, Amos, is very good what you said. And I think what we should always try to get an element of what we do. I don't know, make an effort. I don't think it will happen spontaneously. We really have to make an effort to have an event, an evening, or during the Congress, or a set of virtual presentations that are aimed specifically at non-planners. We have to open up that discussion, and not necessarily the professionals or investors, but the general public. I really think we have to find a way and an effort. I just want to say just a quick anecdote, and I'm sorry, but one of my clients suggested that I should read this book, The Oxford Guide to Plain English, and in the introduction, in the first pages, there are examples of incomprehensible official language. There is a section that is about planning. And for me, that was perfectly fine. I couldn't find, you know, I was laughing and all of the other incomprehensible languages. And then at the page about planning, I was saying, what's wrong with that? You know, I really understand everything of what this message is. So I really think there is also that side, that when we talk about connectivity, placemaking, typologies, integration, holistic society, you know, this is not how we need to speak to everybody else. It's fine for us, but not for everybody else.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, because the language will not get through. If you want to communicate anything from a session, sometimes actually we cannot understand ourselves. So what about the public? But we got an interesting, Martina, if you could just stay for a second, because you were saying for the planning education, there was a question about planning education, as well as believing that future planning education should address urban design and placemaking. So now I think we could also talk more about what we are talking about, not only with whom, and that may open a bit of a discussion about the theme of the Congress, how relevant it should be to the place, to the current issue, or to global issue, or to local. What are your thoughts? And probably from the others, it would be also great to hear some ideas.
I'd be happy to start on that one. Since I am an adjunct professor at Rockland University, and of course I am immersed in that world of academia, I think the subject of planning education is terribly important, because obviously this is where the planner's mind gets shaped. And in my lifetime, my career, I've seen a lot of problems in planning which go back, I would say they go back actually to the manner in which professional planners were educated. I would be also frank enough to say that I believe academia is behind, that many, or if not most, planning curricula are obsolete in parts, and that in these times of very fast changes, no wonder that, you know, it takes years to actually formulate a planning curriculum in a school and get it approved. So inevitably the contents matter in planning programs is always a few years behind. But as we live through these really fast changes in the world today, it's probably lagging behind more than ever. So I could imagine that we could maybe devote one of our future congresses to planning education, and that would not be a congress for professors only, or students or graduates. It would be actually a congress for professionals to tell us what is wrong in the education.
Yeah, also a point to planning education. I think today planning education has gone too much to concrete contents, physical design, physical planning, technologies, etc., etc. But what I just today talked about is more about planning philosophy. That is a thinking style. So I think our current planning knowledge, as I said, is like an ever-expanding body of everything. Its border is unclear. So what is planning is actually more and more a question. What defines a discipline called planning? I think here the key is there is little concern about the structure of planning knowledge. So that is, if we think about the logical structure of planning knowledge, we will know that planning, like a philosophy and a methodology, has to sit in the core. So what it defines planning is its core, rather than the border can expand and can relate to everything. So that's something we have to care for. That's it.
I think we shouldn't forget lifelong learning. I think it's not just about what you have been taught at university or things like that. I think it is a continuous learning process. And I think that is something where the ISOCARP can make a fantastic contribution, precisely by opening up Congress with 700 is one particular type of gathering and communication means, but there are many, many others. And the whole point is to have several, but to share the outcome, to share what we have learned, to share the mistakes and all these kind of things. I think that is very, very important, that we have a sort of repository, I mean, a place where people can get access to this knowledge, even which is sort of gray knowledge, is in the making. It's not definitive theories or anything like that.
I think another very important component, I'm working with a number of governments who are often asking for lists of experts, and eventually they want to hire those experts or bring them in full time to actually staff teams to shape their cities. And increasingly now I'm telling them, let's work on training your people. Let's work on helping you help yourself. And I think this is one of the key transitions that we have to make in a number of markets or countries, regions of the world, which often we're taking ideas from other parts of the planet and then basically trying to integrate them into their own context. I think the more we can help shape local talent, that we can shape local knowledge, the more we're actually going to be able to create places that are relevant to each of those locations. And build a more, I don't want to say entirely self-sufficient, because we all depend on each other nowadays, but a more self-sufficient ecosystem where they can shape their own environment. So answering the question that did come up in the chat, that to me also has to address the scale of urban design and placemaking, which gets us into a different scale, a different granularity, which is often overlooked or is taken lightly or poorly executed. So I think we do have to get to that level of execution, because this is where people either use their environment one way, day in, day out, or they avoid that environment by getting into a car or by living in a part or leaving the city altogether. So I think that level of granularity is going to be increasingly important if we are going to make sustainable cities.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. I mean, there is one element that Judith touched on is the scale, but also scale of the debate itself. I think, as she mentioned, in our Rotterdam Congress, we had those smaller workshops leading to it, and it seems now that the model that was the in-person large-scale event is somehow, well, at the moment impossible, but even if, as we hope so, everyone, quickly we can return close to it. I mean, what are you thinking about all those other ways of addressing this planning debate itself, other than just having one annual event, or what could be the other more creative components that could add up to this? Does anyone want to have a thought on that? Amos, you've been pretty quiet.
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, I would say that I agree with Dushko, although I'm on the other side of the world, and I'm on the other side. I'm not from the academia, but I'm from the private sector. I'm a consultant owner of an office. There are many problems with the academia, but I think this is not why we are here with ISOCARP. And I think the huge advantage of ISOCARP is the flexibility. And flexibility, and you were talking about how many years it takes to build a new curriculum. And here we see how ISOCARP adapted much faster than any other organization and any other conference to the situation. It did this online conference in a few sections along the year, which is also a wonderful idea. And this is also, I think, what we have to remain. We have to remain flexible also with the events, with the aims of each event, and with the way we discuss things among us, and with the way, as I said, we make the planning issues much more accessible to the debate of the public. And I think there are so many means now. I think before the pandemic, nobody knew that there is something like Zoom. And now we sit the whole day long with the Zoom, and we do. I'm fortunate. I worked with so many different people around the world, from the poorest to the richest ones. Here I work with Bedouins, with ultra-Orthodox Jews, and so forth. So of course, it's much better to meet each other and build trust in person, but you can do it also on Zoom. And we do it. We didn't stop to work with the people on our projects on Zoom. You just have to know how to talk with them, how to build a trust with them, and you can do it with Zoom. The world has changed, and we have to understand it. And I think ISOCARP should adopt these techniques and technologies, because there is no other way. So I think this is a challenge for the coming year.
I agree with that, and I really think that we have to, there is no going back. I mean, we have to see this, the fact that we can have this conversation across the world, from New Zealand to, from the other way around. It is a huge opportunity, but also, of course, is not the only thing. And creating excitement around planning, making planning really exciting and a way to shape the future, if that is one of the objectives. And another objective is that of creating a community, a fellowship of planners, of people intending to shape the future world. We have to have a means to have contact as well. Personal contacts and personal friendship is the only way to reach out more and more. Unfortunately, the limitation of Zoom is that you only know what you know, and you only access what you're aware of. So I really think we have to find a way. I'm not sure we will be able to tell from the start what it will be. We will have to go tentatively, especially the next year, because I don't think next year, thinking about another big Congress, will be easy, will be fraught with uncertainty. So that experimenting and trying to find a way, I think we are well placed to keep doing that. Of course, I know it was a huge effort to change the structure of the Congress. But if we keep in mind that what we want to achieve is that of making planning cutting edge, and we want to create strong communities of partnerships, then with that in mind, we will find a way.
Martina, mentioning that, wouldn't you agree that there's also a positive thing about Zoom itself? It makes the knowledge so accessible to places where we were not present before. I mean, we struggled in ISOCARP with every single activity to reach to those places that people, that they don't have the resources to think about even traveling. So now how would you see that?
I think that is a huge advantage. For example, I couldn't possibly afford going to Brisbane, and that even as a professional owner of a company and so on. So that of having an online debate, I don't think we can walk away from that. We have that opportunity now. We know it works. This year has made people of all ages and from all sides of the world get familiar with the platform, not be scared. Is no longer, that divide is no longer there. So it's a huge benefit. So I don't think we can escape from that. The risk is that veering too much towards a huge presence online and forgetting that we need that personal relationship as well. I think that's more the danger. I don't think the danger is ignoring the platforms. We can't anymore.
Judith, we cannot hear you.
About having smaller events, as we saw, for example, at our Congress, with people up to 40 and 3 days together, they really were able to interact. They exchanged business cards, they remained friends, they started friendships and so on. So I think the small scale has a lot of merits on a face-to-face situation. What I think we have to be very careful about and very conscious about, and should do things deliberately, and that is how to feed back all this body of knowledge which has been generated. I agree with Martina that on Zoom it's more like consuming and dealing with stuff which is already there, whilst in smaller groups and so on, you can be really explorative, creative, and trying to explore new ways, even if they might not succeed and so on. But also not just to forget about that, but to have some kind of way, and ISOCARP could be precisely the synergetic body to get all this knowledge together, and also to make it available in a language which is understandable for non-planners in some form. That's a tall order, but I think in the longer term, that is certainly something which I think would be useful for us to do.
Thank you, Judith. Also, I think there is a valid point of this in-person contact that we need to think about, because it's really necessary. And the way I was introduced to the ISOCARP family was that it was a family. It's not like a group of members. You know, whenever I was talking with the local organizing committees about who's going to come, I said it's like a family. You know, they will hug each other and say, "Oh, I haven't seen you for a year," because that's what we are. But it's also a big challenge, because I think everyone this year is missing that. So I don't know how can it be done, and that we do not lose this feel and connection.
Diversity. We should do both. We should do all. Not only Zoom, not only meetings. We can do all. We just have to diverse and be flexible.
Which means, of course, a huge effort in coordinating and into feeding the information from one side to the other. You know, we all us general rapporteurs, we all know only a fraction of the effort of putting together a Congress. Slawek, you know a lot more of that. And of course, this year has been even harder, I think. So trying to do everything is possibly too much, but we have to keep going. I don't think we can escape having some degree of everything. It's just how much of it.
Balance.
And I think it's a good summary of the discussion, and very valid point. We'll keep exploring and experimenting and hoping for new, better, exciting both times, but results as well. And every challenge is an opportunity. So let's hope for that. I would like to thank you for your very interesting comments and very diverse discussion. We have Piotr Lorenz, who is the current General Rapporteur of the Virtual Congress, with us, and he'll have a quick summary of the discussions and hopefully some findings for us to use for the next event. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Slawek, for that. And I have to say that something ends, something begins. You know, I mean, just as Martina said, last year was actually the year and a half ago was the last real life Congress in our life. And actually, I never expected that my Congress will be actually the first virtual Congress, especially knowing my backwardness regarding IT technologies. So that's how it is. But anyway, thank you very much for the discussion. And of course, it's hard to summarize all of your thoughts in less than 45 minutes, but I'll try to do it in 3 minutes. I know it's undoable, but I'll try to do my best in that. And just let me focus on a couple of the dichotomies. First of all, I have to say that I loved what Martina said, that we love dancing in the streets. And I think it's an excellent summary of that, what our congresses to some extent are about. It's actually about making friends and exchanging thoughts in the real life interaction. I mean, over Zoom, Skype, or whatever we are using, of course, we can still do that, but it's really hard to give anybody a hug or actually have a kind of long, inspiring discussion somewhere in the bar or wherever we are, over Zoom, honestly speaking. So, I mean, we need real life interaction. So we need making friends and we need being together. This is very important. On the other hand, we need to be inclusive. Inclusive means we have to be open for the people who cannot participate in the Congress, not because they do not want, but because they do not have time, means, visa ability, and all the other things which make them unable to come somewhere or to go somewhere away from their homes. And this is extremely important. And not only about that, it's also about being open for the different opinions, for the different thoughts, for the different problems which may be posted by a number of the different people. So we need to be also inclusive in that case. And also we have to be open for the participation and for the dialogue, as Judith mentioned that in her part. So this is the first dichotomy. The second one, I think we have to some extent understand that on one hand we are focusing on the theory, but also we are focusing on practice. I have a feeling that in the past congresses, we were not focusing enough on the real life practice, on this kind of hardcore planning practice, I would say. I don't mean large scale urban design or heavy duty planning projects, but just on practice, how the practice actually looks like. And I think this is very important and a big challenge for our society to actually come back to the roots regarding that, and also to come back to that what Professor Hongyang was mentioning, meaning that we should be open for the new cases, new methods, new techniques, new technologies. I think this is very important in that matter. The third dichotomy, which is also and within that we should be also open to education, and I mean education known as just basically discussing these innovative practices, but also discussing how this can be part of the new curricula or the new education forums or whatever we call them. And I'm very happy that this year we have actually managed to restore the education forum as a part of our Congress. And I sincerely hope that this practice will be even furtherly developed. I can thank you for the comments on the chat. It looks like that this idea has been welcomed, but to a greater extent. Also, I think that we should get more trainings and maybe YPP events and all the other things which maybe right now are not that valid because of the pandemic, but we should definitely try to reinvent those in these new realities. The third one, the third dichotomy or the third issue which we should actually deal with is globality versus locality, I would say. You know, we are a global society of planners, probably the largest one, you know, which is working right now. But at the same time, you know, we are focused on the local problems and on the local issues. And I think it's extremely important within the next congresses to balance those two perspectives. You know, on one hand, the global thing, and on another hand, the local thing. You know, I mean, and we all know that this year we are going to Doha, hopefully in person. That means that we should be confronted with what are the local realities, what are the local problems, challenges, and issues which we have to deal with. And it's extremely important that we actually learn from these local solutions, local ideas. And I'm more than sure that not only Doha, but any other host city or any other host region could give us a lot of insights into that, what could be the future of our planning professional, or what could be the solution to any particular problem. I think this is very, very important. The fourth one is that, again, let me come back to Hongyang about that phrase, planning is everything. I fully agree with that. And that also means that we should include in planning not only professionals, but also our partners, communities, leaders, also industry leaders. In that case, I mean, developers, local authorities, and so on. I think it's extremely important to actually be as open and as inclusive in that case. So again, we are coming back to this issue of the inclusiveness. And finally, regarding the topics, I think we should definitely think broad and think ahead. You know, we should really understand that we are not focusing on the past, but we are actually trying to conceptualize the future trends and the future issues. And last point is that definitely the format of just having one big event is something which we cannot, which is not sustainable in the long period, I would say. That we should most probably, first of all, go virtual or partly virtual. It's very important. And second thing is that definitely we need more diversity regarding the type and scope of the events. And I think this Congress, this year's Congress, is an excellent example that we are actually having like 4 sessions spread over 4 months with 3 short sessions during each of those time slots. I think it gives everybody an excellent opportunity to participate over a much longer period of time than just, 3 intensive days and so on. So I think in future, if we come back to the real life meeting and the real life work, I think it could be very interesting that we actually not only focus on just one Congress, but maybe we should focus on multiple events, multiple different occasions that we can share all these things. And finally, definitely we are not alone in this game. We have our partners. I'm very happy to say that this year we have partnered with a number of the partners from the global profession and the global thinking about future of planning, not only for cities, but for regions and for the different issues. I mean, we have UN Habitat, we have Urban Economy Forum this year, but also we have education partners like GPN, ESOP, and so on. I think it's very important to keep that we should go broad also in that sense. So I had a very long speech, but I tried to cut it short. I hope I managed to convey the key messages. If I forgot about something, please let me know. I will be happy to enrich my notes for the future for the future congresses. And thank you very much, Sławek, for organizing that. I think you need a big applause for actually making that and mastering this crowd of individuals, including me. It's very hard, I know that. And I think that we can pass the floor to Hope to actually officially close that part and go to the next item. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Piotr, and of course, thank you very much to Sławek and the panelists. I think the lessons learned over a period of time, we will obviously take that to the next level. It's very important that we understand where we are coming from so that we will understand where we are going. And I think what we did today was exactly that, to try to make sure that we make some reflections. And I think it was very useful for this session. And going forward, I'm hoping there will be a lot of improvement going further, because what I could pick up as the discussion going on was also some form of acknowledgement of where we are not doing very well as a profession and where we need to pull up sources. And yeah, it was very interesting. I would therefore ask Piotr to lead the next item, which is the future of planning awards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And actually, our planning debate session is not only about congresses, but this is also about other activities. So let me right now introduce another session, which is the session of the future of the planning awards. And let me invite Martin Dubbeling and Anna Peric with special participation of our colleagues from the society, but I think that I will leave this in the capable hands of Anna and Martin. So please, floor is yours.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so as first of all, I would really like to say thanks to all the participants in the previous session. It was really a great one. Thanks, Sławek, for organization. Thanks to all the previous rapporteurs. It's a great way to see you once again and to listen to all these interesting stories. So as scheduled today, we are going to speak also about one great legacy of ISOCARP. So it is about ISOCARP Award of Excellence. And as mentioned, Martin and me are going just to moderate this, but the spotlight in this session, of course, will be on our great contributors to this award. And as such, first of all, I would like to welcome Alfonso Vergara, who is here with us today on a very special occasion. Alfonso, thanks a lot for this. I'm really mentioning this because this award of excellence, maybe some of you know, maybe others not, but I think we really need to share that it was somehow the legacy of Alfonso, who is somehow founding father of this award, who established this in 2005. And just a brief info on award and the substance of the award itself. So it's open to a wide range of professionals. So be these from private companies, from universities, research institutes, public offices, regional offices, yeah, so non-governmental organizations, so whatever you can name, you can imagine. And what is also very important, that it is bestowed for different types of contributions, so from urban design projects over to national spatial plans, urban plans, and also very recently we see the great development of different planning tools as tools helping the further participation in the planning process. So up till now, so over the last 15 editions of this award, we bestowed in total 55 awards, and they were given to the entities, different entities, really all over the globe. As we can see this, of course, there is a majority of the cities, so to say, that won this award even twice, some of them even 3 times, mainly in China, some also in Europe, but we are really happy to see that each year we are receiving actually the entries from all over the globe. And as in previous session, we made some comment on the paradigm shift, and I would just briefly like here to present to you how actually we see this shift in terms of Award of Excellence itself. So, for example, in 2005, it was about the urban design project who was awarded as the first place award in this period of time. And this project was about the urban design who actually saw its implementation some 6 years later. Then the award winner from 2009 was Wuhan Land Use Agency with their Wuhan Master Plan. Our dear Alfonso Vergara got the award in 2017 for the integrated territorial model of Colombia, different sites in Colombia called Colombia Diamonds. And very recently, the award was given to the Nanjing University for the very specific digital participatory tool. So we definitely see this shift in the planning practice as actually illuminated in the form of the Award of Excellence. And here I'm really giving the floor to our winners. So first of all, we are going to see the presentation, the video by Roman Pomazan, who actually with his colleague from Frame Art Architects got the Award for Excellence in 2019 for the Strategy Master Plan of Urban Transition of Turkestan City. Then we proceed further with the Strelka office from Moscow, which was awarded for the My Street program for the redesign of the Moscow streets. And finally, we conclude with our dear colleague Diru Tadani, who won the 3rd place in this award in 2015 for the Lue City Center. Later on, we will have the conversation with all the winners and of course include Alfonso Vergara. So in this very moment, I give the floor over to Roman Pomazan. Roman, please.
Is he here?
Yeah, he is here. He's just going to present some video, I think.
Maybe is it uploaded by the Secretariat?
No.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, Roman.
Hi. Do you see me? Okay.
Please.
Good afternoon. Happy to see you one more time on this spectacular event. Now I just show you our short presentation of the Turkestan Strategy for Transformation that obtained the Grand Award last year. I switch my demonstration. Can I share my screen?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Roman, I'm not sure if this is going to work.
Okay.
Because it is, you're connected to YouTube. Maybe it's good that you share the link that we can all have a look.
Okay.
And because it's, I hear something very vague from the distance, but maybe your internet connection is not that good, or Wi-Fi. But maybe you can say a few words on it, and
okay.
And
I shared it to Anna. Probably you can.
Anna will actually share it.
Okay.
It's the YouTube video. Yeah.
Probably it will be a better option.
Yeah, but without the video, can you share us a few ideas about the concept, but not only about the winning award, but also what it meant to the city of Turkestan and what it meant to your office, and did you reach the front page of the newspaper? Were you opening at the news, or what did you do with the awards?
The situation actually is not easy with this project, because until now it has not been implemented 100%, and there are some difficulties with this. Yeah, it was mentioned in some media, and as for Kazakhstan urban planning sphere, it became popular, but regarding the scale of this project, I think that there is the time has not come yet to implement it into reality in the full scale. So we are now on the track of negotiations with local authorities on details and some alternations of its parts. But the basic ideas of nature regeneration and culture industries as a key driver for renovation of old cities were received the main message of urban agenda there.
When we were in Jakarta, you also showed us that video. I remember that very well, because it took quite some time. It was a video of almost, in my memory, 15 minutes or so. But now you have a shorter version. I see now, and what I would like to ask is then the work that you received, is it did it help you at all, or is it, or it is a shorter version? Yes,
shorter version.
But if you share it with us through, we will share it with the members on email. But we're also very much interested in how, if it worked for you, and if it helped you, or maybe it's also a kind of, maybe your plan was too good to be realized, or was it also a hindrance for you that you received the award, that you got international recognition, but in the city itself you didn't get the opportunity to implement it?
I would mention that yeah, this kind of low-rise design is a very looks very very first like very experimental for local authorities. So they hard accept all the solutions embedded in the project. Yeah, that's true. And there is also issue of involvement of and participation not only of local communities but also of the main stakeholders that come into such a big scale of projects. As for now, the Turkestan is the biggest national project of construction after Expo 2017. So this issue arise also in our practice. Of course, award gave us opportunity to advocate, but still it's not so easy to perform it into reality in I would say in post-Soviet countries. Yeah, there are some participatory stakeholder issues that should be considered.
Okay, thank you, Rowan. I suggest we go, Anna, under your guidance, we go through the next presenter. Anna?
I'm warmly welcoming Daria Paramonova. Daria, nice to meet you. From Strelka. Strelka was awarded with the Grand Excellence Award in 2018. And yes, we can have a look at your presentation and more importantly, see what was the influence of this award on your future work and how it contributed to it further. Please.
Yes, I have a presentation about the project. Do you think I shall go with this? Okay, so just give me a second. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, just make the full screen shortly. Okay.
I see 24 slides. Do you think you can make it? You can make it in a few minutes?
Yes, definitely. I'm just going to go right to the point. And just let me know that, just a second, because when it's full screen, it's not going to, I'm not the only one who is having technical problems today. Yeah, it's not going fast, unfortunately, I don't know. So just a few words about the company. Strelka KB is urban consultancy, and we operate as a public benefit company. It means that our profit we spent on the Strelka Institute. It is a postgraduate program related to architecture and design, urban design. I have some echo. Do you hear me well?
We hear you.
Okay.
We hear you perfectly.
And when we do our project relating territory, we use so-called comprehensive model when we focus on 3P, people, places, and processes, where we define users, their values, and future models for their territory. Within the office, we have a big team of internal expertise, and it includes like urban economics, GIC laboratory, and for example, Strelka Architects. It's an architectural department, which I'm leader of. So this will help us to execute these comprehensive models and apply them to urban environment. And another specific point about our office is that we do work with the experts almost from all over the world. And what we do, we bring this expertise to Russian environment, because when the office started to work, when Institute has appeared, it was extremely important to bring expertise level of international project to Russian reality and actually somehow lift all the existing practice of architects. So the presentation is super slowly. Just go on with the My Street project. It's actually what the program of City of Moscow of the administration, and we were working as operator of the program. Besides the project itself, we brought the expertise, international expertise I was talking about. We brought, we executed the standard, which helps to execute the whole project. And of course, we were responsible for supervision of design. During this time, we built almost, we were participating in a design of 200 streets, and it took us 3 years to do this. And the standards which were executed as well were applied to the all streets of Moscow. If we talk about effects of the program and of the design that was happening and in general of street renovation, it is of course increasing amount of pedestrians that appeared on the streets, and we were counting this, and we were getting data after the construction. It is also about safety and the way the amount of car accidents declined and amount of injured people declined. And it's about business, amount of new businesses that came to the street, about growth of income and decreasing rate of vacancies. So talking about the result of program, it's huge. And somehow Moscow program became an example for all Russian cities, which is more than 1,000, actually 1,117. And later on, after this program, we started to participate in another program, which were renovation in 40 Russian cities. These days we continue on this expertise, like urban space development, and of course getting the award was from one hand gave us an international acknowledgement, and today we work on some international projects as well. And of course it was important somehow to ground our expertise in Russia, because of course if you well accepted by international colleagues, and this is a certain sign for local authorities that we provide the service on the quality that international colleagues works. Yeah, so I don't know, some slides maybe just to confirm what I was saying. So this is a map of Moscow with some streets.
I don't see it moving. I don't see it moving. I still see the first slide. Page.
Yes.
Now I see something. Page number 7.
Yes, yeah. So this is some numbers that confirm what I was saying. It's almost 200 projects were completed. It's a huge citizen poll that we did during the project. A different amount of experts and analysis that we did to execute it.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the photos confirming that Moscow streets had huge problems within infrastructure, of course, like I don't know, cars that just flooded streets and lack of users infrastructure. And this is the way the program was working. I was saying that we were working as an operator of the program, but in general, the whole project is a big program that Moscow government were initiator of. And in the end, it was one of the main products is the standard, which describe 3,500 streets. All streets were analyzed, and based on this analysis, we executed typology of streets. And this is the way these days renovation happening. This document was accepted on a level of law, so it's somehow what should be taken as a recommendation for execution of design.
Okay.
And this is how it's working as a pattern. So actually you choose the name of the street, and according to the standard, you find the solution you have to apply till the details. As I said, it was big, of course, involvement of the residents and how the project was executed. It's first started with anthropological research and DIC data and photo content analysis and so on. And this is a team of experts that was working with us from all over the world. And what is important to say, of course, it's not us who are architects who executing this project, but these teams from other countries. And we also were given an opportunity to local young architects to take part in this project because it's very rare opportunity. So just a few numbers saying that how Moscow streets has been changed. And you see, we have your award on the slide, among others, saying, proving that we're actually proud of this and very thankful. So this is mainly it.
Okay, thank you very much. And when you received the reward, did you get a phone call from the Kremlin or from the mayor from Moscow, or how does that work in Russia?
No, it's not that direct, of course, but we do work with the state. We do work with the local authority. It's unavoidable if you do such big projects. And of course, as I said, this is a great support in proving our expertise.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Anna?
Thanks a lot, Daria. It was a super comprehensive process and a super comprehensive effect of your design, actually. So this clearly overlaps with what we were talking in the first part about planning is everything. So it really tackles every sphere of life. Thanks a lot once again.
Thank you.
And lastly, we warmly welcome our dear colleague Diru Tadani. Diru Tadani won the award in 2015 for the Lue City Center. So Diru, can you tell something more about this, and particularly maybe more about the effect of that award on the development of the Lue City Center? Please, Diru.
Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. It's morning for me. Can you see my screen?
We see a lot of waves, but we don't see your presentation. Yeah, now we see it.
You see it?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. First up, thank you for this invitation. It's great to see a lot of my friends here. We haven't seen each other in quite a while in person, so this makes it a little bit eases some of the pain of not seeing you in a long time. This project was done following about a year or two after a UPAT was done, and we were invited, a team was invited to Nanjing to review the plan that you see on the right, which was the extension of Nanjing to include 4.5 million additional residents. And it was, the plan showed a linear city that ran 90 kilometers. The drawing on the left shows you a map of Washington, D.C. at the same scale. And you can see that Washington 16 kilometers by 16 kilometers. And this was a very long linear city with all the wrong moves. So the team recommended a polycentric solution, which you see on the left diagram, and which allowed a lot of the waterways from the hill on the left-hand side for the natural streams to exist and go down to the Yance River. The site is this red piece on the upper north. And a few years later, we were invited to look at the first of those polycentric cities or nodes to accommodate 1 million people. So we started off with a central square. The diagram on the right shows our site on the lower right, municipal center that was already built, and the bridge was also under construction, and the historic city of Luha was on the north. So it's kind of a triad between these three elements. Again, we didn't have a choice here. As architects and planners, we have to work on sites that we're given. So you see the diagram. So our first initial idea was to create a place that was, of the scale of the city, 1 million people. So it's a central square that sits pretty much in the center of the site. The next move was to create a documentus, east-west street that runs adjacent to the central square, builds a small bridge. That's a new bridge that was a more scaled, a lower scale bridge that connects the site that's to the west. And the diagram on the right shows you the relationship of that documentus with the central square. The next was the cardo that bisects the central square. And again, some views, some 3D images of the project. Now there was a bridge already planned, which is this lower bridge that was crossing the river, which was an 8-lane road. And what we did was treated it as a we gave it a road diet. It took the 8 lanes and reduced it down to 2 lanes, 3.5 meters of pedestrian, and 2 bicycle lanes. So, do you get some feedback? Are you hearing some feedback here?
No, we don't.
No. Okay. I'm hearing some. So sorry. So when the bridge lands, the bridge landing is shown on the right. Is a cultural center that has 8 sites for various civic buildings. That would be built over time, no rush, as the city grew and it needed these cultural institutions, they would be built at that time. Now, each one of those entries into the city is lined with a greenway, and the image on the right shows you the diagonal that goes to the southeast. There's a mountain that has a significant value here, and that view corridor is open from the central square looking towards the Lang Mountain. So that corridor is left open, as you see in this image. The next move was to develop the central core. The 2 stars that you see on the plan are the 2 tallest buildings within the plan, and then it gradients down from that point on. So those are the 2 tallest that form the skyline, a very important aspect in Chinese city planning. So we decided that we'd have these 2 high-rise towers there. It was very difficult to convince the Chinese authorities that we could meet their density, their requirements with relatively mid-rise buildings. So we did these 2 towers and then gradiented down. The floor area ratio that they wanted to meet was 4.5 for this site, which we were able to achieve with this gradient hybrid zoning envelope. There's a ring road that wraps around that core, which has a bus transit loop, that is a kind of continuous bus loop that's clockwise. So the bus never makes a left turn, it always makes a right turn, and it encircles the core. The other aspect of the plan was that we had arcades at the base of, coded arcades at the base of many of the buildings on the multiple streets, the many streets. And so it totals about 20 kilometers of arcades that are coded into the plan that buildings must have. It's hot in this part of the country, and it rains every month. So to deal with the inclement weather, these arcades provide protection. The next zone around is what we call the medium density mixed use zone. And that's again, lower scale, it drops down in scale from the core. And then finally, the last ring is the low density belt, which consists of 4-story buildings along the water's edge. We felt it was really important to have this low scale drive around the city that interfaced with the water's edge. And there's a ring road along that edge, which has a tram that moves counterclockwise around that loop. The section on the upper right shows you the kind of traditional way this condition is dealt with in China. A dam is built usually 10 meters high, going down to the river, it terraces down and you build a park. Buildings are then set back from that dam 20 meters. Our approach was to build a road at that level, same 10-meter height, and use the drop-in scale, the drop-in elevation for parking. So the entire city is pretty much elevated to the, it kind of tapers down, but it's elevated to the height of the dam. And so these are a couple of conditions of the water's edge. Just 4 diagrams that explains the project. The block plan, we felt it was essential to have blocks, which are relatively small scale. We were able to convince the Chinese authorities to have blocks 150 meters. Generally, they're 600 meters. These are 150 by 100 maximum. There's 2 conditions where there's only 100-meter blocks dimension, which we thought was a substantial achievement. This is the road diagram that we would that meets the Chinese all their regulations. What we were able to do was use all their regulations, but give all those roads a diet by increasing the sidewalks, plantings, bicycle lanes, etc. So they don't really look as wide. And then you see the landscape plan on the right that shows you how those major streets are all taken down. And then finally, the master plan for the project. So, and then one view looking back at those 2 towers from the southeast in that wedge-shaped space. That's a view corridor. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Deo. How was it received in Nanjing?
Well, there was a lot of opposition initially because we were breaking a lot of rules. The governor of the province allowed the project to go through as a demonstration project. So we were given some leeway as a demonstration project, but there was a lot of resistance to the small blocks, a lot of resistance to the small streets. We had a traffic engineer model in one of these fancy programs, all the movement systems and the transit, what the transit benefits would be for the internal circulation, and that convinced them. When we got the award, I think that made our clients extremely happy because they could deal with some of the opposition that they were feeling during the process. And then we also received a Congress for New Urbanism project award, and that was sort of, again, one more thing that really helped the project. As of 3 years ago, the project was underway. The bridge that was under construction has been completed. Some of the roadways have been completed, but then things really start to slow down. So I'm not sure how it's going to pick up in the next phase.
Okay, but are you following this project still?
I was about 1.5 years ago, pre-COVID. Things really stopped during COVID. So I've been invited to go back, but I'm not traveling right now. So, but the Chinese, most of the Chinese cities are working to full capacity. However, it's, I'm not willing to travel right now.
That's good. But you follow the progress of this project through Google Earth? Yes. Every day a new aerial photograph, or
not every day, but yes, some progress. And I see that at least the primary road system has been going into place. The smaller streets haven't happened yet, so that's another issue. It's like, you have to fight all the time to convince them because it's so much easier to go back to the ways that they're familiar with. So it's a kind of constant follow-up and constant education. In regard to the award, it always feels good to receive an award. So on a personal level, it's very gratifying to be recognized by your peers. It's also very gratifying for the team who worked on the project, that they worked on something meaningful and that was recognized. And in terms of the client, I think, it's really an accomplishment and pride for the client that, they picked the best consultants because the consultants were recognized. So I think on all three levels, client, team, and individual, there's a lot of goodwill, if you will, between these. So there's visibility, as we were talking about. The project gets visibly noticed in the international market. There's also a differentiation between the project and other projects. So people are looking at this and saying, this one won on the board, it's got small blocks. So it kind of, there's a kind of ripple effect for when a project gets recognized, whether it's built or not. As we drew it, it still gets recognized, and people, say, okay, maybe there's another way to planning instead of there's 600-meter blocks and 120 wide streets. So.
Thank you very much, Diru, also for both your presentation, but also the bridge to the next part of this session, and that is to evaluate a little bit the awards in general and the awards of excellence of ISOCARP in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I would now like to put the answer or the question to Alfonso, who was, say, the founding father of the awards of excellence. I remember very well my very first Congress for ISOCARP was Bilbao. That was also the first presentations of the UPADs. It was also the first presentations of the awards of excellence. So in a way, Bilbao, the Congress then in 2005 was groundbreaking in many aspects. Also visiting that wonderful city in development, Bilbao. It was a very, very nice Congress. I remember that very well. I remember also the very enthusiastic atmosphere, but also the awards. The awards were really big. That was really something. And maybe Alfonso, may I ask you? You came up with the idea, and maybe probably it's not a very new idea to introduce that to ISOCARP. But when you look back to all the awards that you have been seen passing by, not only in this session but also on the website and during congresses, etc., is this what you had in mind, or is this something for the planning profession that we should keep on, or is it when we look back maybe say, yes, we did it for 15 years, now let it go, because maybe it's also a little bit in this digital age, maybe a little bit old-fashioned. I'm just trying to how would I say, provoke a little bit, although I'm a great fan of the awards, but I would like a little bit to become a little bit self-critical about it. So I'm really would like to hear your opinion about and also what are experience from outside ISOCARP with awards. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm really down to earth. Okay, awards, nice, but I think that in other cultures, China, maybe United States, much more important than it is in, say, northwestern parts of Europe. What is your idea? What is your analysis about this?
Thank you, thank you, Martin. Thank you, Anna, for this event, and also thank you to Paranomova and also to Roman and Diru for your presentations. Our dream in our society when we proposed this idea was to bettering the world city by city. I mean, having an impact, our profession having an impact. If we only work in the traditional planning, in the bureaucratic aspect, and we do not take part of the way our society thinks the cities of the future, we will have a lot of difficulties from our profession to have an impact, and we will become irrelevant. So it is very important for our society to be a relevant part of our challenge to build the cities of the future. So the idea of the award, that other ideas like particularly working with young planners, the congresses, which is one of the real strengths of ISOCARP, can really contribute to these objectives of having a high impact in bettering our cities. So in the case of Bilbao, when we proposed this award, Bilbao was one of the cities that received this award. And not only the award, a congress, the impact in Bilbao of thinking about the creative economy, changed the mind, changed totally the political situation and the orientation, and the importance of being connected with the world. So Bilbao, after receiving the ISOCARP award, received the European Award for Transparency, the National Award of Planning, and then the so-considered the Nobel of Cities, the Lee Kuan Yew World Cities Prize, organized by Singapore. And we organized the Lee Kuan Yew World Cities Prize inspired in ISOCARP. But they spend a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of people in organizing the best possible award that is becoming in less than 12 years in the so-called the Nobel of Cities. But the capacity of ISOCARP to be relevant is very high because we are independent. We are independent of political parties. We are independent of a particular country. So the professionals that represented in ISOCARP has a possibility of having an impact in orientation and the inspiration of the design of future cities. I think the work you have been doing for all these years, in year after year, organizing the awards, identifying the best possible proposal, this is a kind of heroism without any means, without the money of Singapore to organize the Lee Kuan Yew World Cities Prize, only with talent, vision, friendship, network. So I really feel very happy of these 15 years of effort. And I am very, I expect with anxiety the book with the results that will be a very important contribution to our profession. So in general, I think in ISOCARP, we have the capacity, in my opinion, to have an impact. Probably we need to have self-confidence. Everybody is participating with a lot of generosity in our society. Even the people that during some times have responsibilities in the board or in the presidency or running different programs, is amazing. We cannot really pay this effort from the profession, but I think it will be very rewarding if we see the impact of this kind of program, particularly if the new generation of planners can really continue this work. No? So, my opinion, I feel optimistic. I think this award can have an impact in connecting our society with the world, will have an impact in supporting our professionals, particularly these professionals that receive an award, and also giving self-confidence to the cities when they have a challenge of developing a particular project. Sometimes local fights don't allow this evolution. When some institution which has prestige, which is independent, which has a capacity to really provide fair judgment, recognize the value of a particular work, that can facilitate also the implementation and the ambition of the cities for developing this particular project. So, Martin, answering your question, I feel optimistic about that, but the level of ambition we can put on this particular program of ISOCARP will be fundamental, because if we don't do an effort in recognizing the best projects in the world, our award will be irrelevant. So it is very important to be very, very selective, to invite the best option that our professionals around the world are aware of, and trying to recognize the best practice for the inspiration of our members, and also to the inspiration of our society.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Alfonso. In nature, too, I'm very optimistic. When I just look at my email box, how many requests I get from other organizations and cities to participate in their awards, from Singapore to Guangzhou to wherever. I have the impression that in those 15 years, many other cities and organizations started to have their awards, and some awards are better than others. But in which way do you think? And I also invite other participants in this meeting to have an opinion about it. In what should be the next steps in our awards? We sent out invitations. We sometimes get 10 entries, sometimes more. We could aim for the best. We could send out invitations to all kinds of cities, but especially also in this digital age. Is there a way we can improve our program, in which we can improve our visibility? We are now, after 15 years and after having rewarded over 50 cities and programs and designs, etc., in the past 15 years, we now working on the publication with an analysis of that. In which way we can become groundbreaking in an innovative way? Do you have a suggestion?
I think the publication will be a landmark in the process and a moment to rethink, to reinvent. We cannot do exactly the same we did 15 years ago.
Yeah, agree.
We need to focus profile for the award. I remember when 12 years ago we began with Singapore, the creation of this so-called now the Nobel of Cities, the Lee Kuan Yew World Cities Prize. We began accepting proposals from professional profiles to be recognized cities. At the end of the day, after the first or second edition, we decided the profile we are looking at mayors transforming city. We will not give the award to the best city, but to the city with a capacity of transformation over the last couple of decades, recognizing the leadership in the transformation of city. So this is a particular profile. Probably our profile as planners, as in ISOCARP, should be different, but it is very important that taking into consideration the previous experience to identify a specific profile unique for the ISOCARP award. We have a lot of strengths, basically the knowledge capacity of our members, that is our main asset. And they have, from the academic point of view, from the professional perspective, they know our profession and they have the capacity to identify the best option. So it's not easy. It's not easy because sometimes the best institution, those that are working with more excellence, they don't have time to apply for awards. No? So it is important that from our profession, we can identify and trying to prepare candidacies in relation with a particular profile we would like to strengthen.
Can I say something about the transformation of the award system? I think it's important that the awards transform to be more relevant to crises that we currently face today in planning. So for instance, if the focus, as Alfonso was saying, the award was given to cities that could transform, maybe we should look at, in that same vein, plans that deal with auto dependency. Do we want to continue to, permeate projects that are totally auto dependent as opposed to transit oriented? Or do we want to, look at projects that address issues of climate change, stormwater management, etc.? So if they are a set of principles that are relevant today, that are the kind of guiding force behind what the award stands for, I think that would be extremely relevant, so that the criteria becomes, more present.
Thank you very much, Diru. I got all kinds of messages. People are calling me now that this session is long overdue. This session has been recorded, so we will take the takeaways from the presentations and from the remarks with us. It is an upbeat to the publication that we are preparing about the 15 years of awards and over 50 cities and projects that we have been awarded. I thank you all for participating in this session. I especially thank Alfonso and Dero and Paramonova and Roman Pomazan to clear out their agendas and to prepare small presentations and to answer my little provoking questions. We will come all back to you, to the award winners, and also to Alfonso and to our members whoever won an award. And most of you already received an email asking for an essay. And we must say we already received almost 10 essays for that book, so that is good news. I thank you all for participating in this meeting, and I give the floor now to Piotr to close the meeting. Was it to Piotr or was it to?
It's actually to Hope.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, Martin. Thank you very much, Martin and Anna, for the presentation. It was very interesting to learn about the process and, of course, the reasoning behind why there are awards and the recognition, the importance of recognizing ourselves. So I don't want to waste much time. I would like to ask Pietro to take us to the next item because I'm mindful of the time now. We're a little bit behind time. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We are a little bit behind time, but I think it was definitely worth skipping the break, you know, to listen to some closing remarks from our panelists. Now, time for Frank Dont to say some closing words for the session. Frank, please.
Yes, thank you, Piotr. Thank you, Martin. And thank you, Slavik. And thank you, Hope, for leading this wonderful discussion. Also, thank you to all the contributors and all the members present here. I think there is a great value in having this kind of internal reflection, what we call our first virtual ISOCARP World Cafe. I agree, nothing can beat a real cafe or dancing in the street, but it's the best what we can get. And if you see a possibility, also meet each other on the virtual meeting place of this Congress. I have not much to add in terms of content. I think it's really good to look back, to look forward. We are now a little bit in a very particular place because the present is completely disruptive, but it's good. It's good, it's disruptive. We have to fix a number of things after this crisis, but there are also some takeaways from this crisis. So we are moving to blending cyberspace and real place in a way, and that is, I think, a positive takeaway. I also believe that if we pay attention to the awards in our next review, we could maybe also blend in some stories about the congresses. It could be a reflection on both. Because of this particular moment in time, we could include a couple of reflections on the congresses as well. And I think we have a lot of feedback from today, so there is plenty to include or to process. So that would be my recommendation, that we take the conclusions of today forward in a nice publication for the next World Planning Congress, which is already this year in November. So you will have, for the first time in ISOCARP history, 2 congresses in 1 year. With this, I would like to close because we need a little bit of a break before going into the special general meeting. So back to you, Piotr, or Hope, or
yes, now to me. Thank you. Me. No, okay. Anyway, so thank you so much, Frank. So we are closing. We are, of course, encouraging each and every one of you to go to the Jakarta for mingle and discuss. But before we do that, please, let's take a group picture as usually we do after each of the sessions. So let me ask Nian and and our staff to arrange for that. And in the meantime, let me remind you just that what Frank mentioned is that for ISOCARP members only, there is the special annual general meeting. So if you are not an ISOCARP member, you are not allowed, but you can still enroll. And if anybody of you is not a member yet, you can still do that. You have 10 more minutes, so please do that.
Okay, as per Piotr's request, we would like to shortly invite everyone to switch on their cameras so we can take a screenshot of this session. Thank you very much. At the count of 3, Anna is going to make a photo. 3, 2, 1. Done. Thank you.
So thank you, and see you in a few minutes, and the rest of the crowd see you tomorrow. Thank you.